All right, now we got to get to the bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Next week I'll take more calls. I apologize. We don't have time to take more calls. I'm sorry, but we will do that. Kyle, if you're listening, why did you reset this? We used to have this very elegant, simple phone system, and
not good. Believe me, not good.
Actually, yes, for both.
No good, really bad for you.
No good, really bad for you. So Pete Buttigieg, guys, have you heard that Pete Buttigieg is really smart?
Is he?
No, I've heard everybody's talking about how dumb he is.
That's so interesting because in the past couple of days, I feel like we finally flipped from he's so brilliant to is this guy fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I don't even remember the other part, actually.
I get that he speaks a lot of languages and some people are very obsessed with going to fancy schools. But one thing that Bernie Sanders needs to catch up on is a serious strategy to really, in a broader sense, democratize the judicial system. Because the fundamental reality is that there is an incompatibility. You do need courts in any type of liberal context to safeguard certain things. But there's just been this extraordinary misconception. The left got complacent on voting for it on the Supreme Court. But on the other hand, I think the left also had a totally skewed view because they took a handful of important cases like Brown and Roe v. Wade, and then all of a sudden reverse engineered the overall historically profoundly reactionary nature of the Supreme Court, which is a very pro-capitalist, very socially moderate. When it's gone the right direction on vital issues like civil rights, there was a social movement behind it that set the context. This is not an institution that gets ahead on it. This is an institution that gave us Dred Scott. That being so, there needs to be a plan. And Pete Buttigieg has come forward with, I don't even, basically, there will be 15 people on the Supreme Court. 5 of them will be Democrats, 5 of them will be Republicans, and 5 of them will be independents, which will mean 2 things. Gridlock, 10-5 Republicans, and a huge amount, and consensus on things like corporations having more rights,
Absolutely.
Labor unions being rolled back, and even, as I'm sorry, guys, Justice Ginsburg, who I do respect as a person, I do. I don't like the cult around her, but she's undeniably a hugely accomplished person who overcame massive hurdles. She just voted with the Republicans on one of the most obscene criminal justice decisions I've ever seen. So Pete Buttigieg's 21st century super high-tech innovation is more power and gridlock at the Supreme Court.
And even better than these 5 nonpartisan judges that will be appointed, they'll be appointed 2 years in advance and will only be on the bench for a year. So essentially creating like an intern class of like law clerks who do we even know if they're going to be able to, I mean, obviously this is not going to happen, but in his potential situation, that, would they even be appointed in the first place, right? Could you not imagine that 5-on-5 being able to come to some kind of consensus on what judges they're bringing into the court for 1 year? I mean, it's absolute disaster, not to mention the idea of cementing a 50-50 split and cementing the Republican Party in power, which we should, as the left, should be hoping to prevent and destroy.
I believe we have a clip that David Griscom dug up, which we can't explain. We can't even try to give you the merits of the Buttigieg plan because this is something that Joe Biden would find embarrassing. It is a innovative technical fix that will make the system actually profoundly more inefficient. It's a Rube Goldberg contraption to ensure Republican domination of the court. And I don't know, maybe get a backdoor donation from Howard Schultz. But we found a clip from maybe the worst television show ever made that we think just captures the ethos of Pete Buttigieg, the spirit of Pete Buttigieg.
Are you in favor of tax cuts for the wealthy? I am not. I am in favor of tax cuts for those for whom it will do the most good. And that's a tough enough battle. And it looks like all of a sudden we've got a fair fight. But I'm not talking about policy. I'm talking about rhetoric, and the men you work for need to dial it down to 5. Henry, last fall, every time your boss got on the stump and said, it's time for the rich to pay their fair share, I hid under a couch and changed my name. I left Gage Whitney making $400,000 a year, which means I paid 27 times the national average in income tax. I paid my fair share, and the fair share of 26 other people. And I'm happy to, because that's the only way it's going to work. And it's in my best interest that everybody be able to go to schools and drive on roads. But I don't get 27 votes on election day. The fire department doesn't come to my house 27 times faster, and the water doesn't come out of my faucet 27 times hotter. The top 1% of wage earners of this country pay for 22% of this country. Let's not call them names while they're doing it, is all I'm saying.
This was a Democrat fantasy show. And Aaron Sorkin said last year that AOC doesn't understand politics. I think it's time to bring the gulag back as a segment. That's my conclusion. We need to bring the gulag back.
That's the first.
What a disgusting.
I've never seen West Wing before.
Stupid,
oh, really? That was
embarrassing
your
show.
That's pretty good.
That's one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and then people thought this was smart. It's like, wow, what a reasonable answer.
Like a guy, like in the middle of that, oh my God, if I was writing that scene, I would have been like an 8-year-old when they're like making stories that make no sense, because I would have been storyboarding, and I'd be like, and then he says 27 times hotter water, and then Fidel Castro came in and he shoots him in the leg, and then he takes him away, and then he goes to a prison, and there's only cold water. And then he goes behind a wall. That's how I would have written it as an 8-year-old and a 35-year-old now.
The best part about this clip is, I don't know if this is a few years ago, but Rob Lowe during the 2016 election started freaking out at Bernie Sanders. It's like, why is he yelling at me? Why is he yelling at me? And he tweeted
because
out,
you're a fucking useless prick.
And he tweeted out this clip, and he's like, this message is still important today.
He should have his citizenship stripped. He should be, you know what? All right.
Oh, is he Canadian?
No, he should just have his citizenship stripped. He's fucking useless. He's a grade B, like 80s actor bitching about his tax rate. I'm sorry. Rob Lowe's not putting points on the board. And West Winger Mazer D traction. You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe